I really don't care what they say about you, Scotty. I think you're all right.
Yes, I
couldn't happen to a student. She's the first person. All right. Got all of our groups here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming. We're in a bit of a rush. We got another vote coming up in about 5 minutes, and I want to make sure that Senator Ernst from Iowa can speak. There's no more eloquent, sincere, and persuasive voice on pro-life issues than Joni Ernst. And the purpose of this news conference is to unveil the Senate's efforts to pass the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act that passed in the House, and Joni has been a co-sponsor since day one. And I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you. And first, I want to thank Senator Graham for being such a great partner in this. Thank you so much. And I can't say that I am the most eloquent speaker, but I am maybe one of the most passionate when it comes to these life issues. We know that at 5 months of gestational age, babies have 10 fingers, they have 10 toes, they can make faces, they can yawn, and we also know that they feel pain. It's unconscionable that the United States is one of only 7 countries that allows abortions after 5 months. We are currently in the company of countries like China and North Korea. Not good company in many ways. I'm fighting for this legislation in honor of my friend, my very small friend, and fellow Iowan Micah Pickering. Micah, at 5 years old now, is an incredible young boy who was born prematurely at just 5 months gestation. And I've had the honor of knowing Micah for many years now. And before I had given a speech on the floor of the Senate, I had a poster board that had a picture of Micah at birth, this tiny baby. And I had a side-by-side picture of him at his then age of several years old, climbing a tree. And as I had that in my office, Micah ran up to it and he pointed at the picture of himself as that tiny little baby. And he said, "Baby." And I said, "Yes, Micah, that's a baby." And so we know that these incredible young babies, even though that they're born or are living at that age, they can feel pain. And we know that they are babies. It demonstrates that they are babies. This legislation can protect up to 10,000 lives like Micah's every year by preventing abortions after about 5 months of development. And it is absolutely critical that the Senate take up this legislation to protect our most vulnerable in our population. So again, I want to thank you, Lindsay, so much, and for all of our partners that have joined together on this incredibly important legislation. We must take this up on the floor of the Senate. We must do it to honor all of those little precious lives. So thank you all very much. God bless, and hopefully we will see this through to fruition and a vote on the floor of the Senate. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. I know you're busy. Thank you for coming by. We'll have Senators Sass and Lankford come in a moment, and we'll introduce our group, our leaders of the groups behind us. But sort of put this bill in context. What we're trying to accomplish here is to get America out of a club of 7 nations that I particularly don't want to be in. So when you look at medical literature about the development of a child in the 5th month, they encourage young parents to sing to the unborn child because they can recognize your voice. And the theory of the case here is pretty important. Under Roe v. Wade, there's a state interest when the fetus becomes viable. And viability has definitely changed since 1973. But there's a new theory here, a legal theory to protect the unborn that's very, very important. The construct of this bill is that at 20 weeks, the child is capable of feeling excruciating pain. Operations are routinely performed on unborn children at 20 weeks. And the medical practice, the standard medical practice, is to provide anesthesia to the unborn child because they feel pain in the process of trying to save the child's life. So it's not much of a leap to say that an abortion would be a very painful thing for that child to go through. So we're trying to convince the courts that legislative bodies like the Congress and at the state level have a legitimate, compelling state interest to protect a child at the 5th month of development from excruciating pain that would come from an abortion. Again, if the medical requirements are that you provide anesthesia to save the child's life, that says a lot about the development of that child. So I'm excited that the courts are going to embrace this as a legitimate, compelling state interest. 20 states have passed a version of this law, including South Carolina. It passed the House yesterday with a very strong vote. We're going to take it up in the Senate. I can assure every pro-life group out there this will be on the floor of the Senate sooner rather than later. A debate worthy of a great nation. And when it comes to the unborn, one of the strongest advocates you could hope to have is Senator Lankford, and we'll turn it over to him.
Thanks, Lindsay. Bill, thanks for being here. This is a very straightforward bill, and I try to tell everyone what it is and what it is not. This is an opportunity for us to be able to basically catch up for the rest of the world, where the rest of the world has already gone, recognizing that a child at the 5th month of development is a viable child. When you look across Europe, Europe has already changed their laws. With the exception of the Netherlands, and they're the only ones that they do not allow elective abortions after the 5th month. We are behind most of the world. We're in an elite club of nations like North Korea and China that still allow abortions this late in their development. So we need to be able to fix our laws. Again, the rest of the world is already at this spot. We're lagging behind in what we're doing to protect that child at this stage of development. The other part of it is also an area that we're lagging behind the rest of the world. This bill also corrects an issue that occasionally there's an abortion where it is botched, and instead of actually destroying the child in the womb, the child is fully delivered. And when the child is fully delivered, a decision has to be made. What do you do now with this child? Medical professionals literally surround this child that's now fully delivered. This bill would say if a child is fully developed or fully delivered, then they need to get medical attention to try to protect their life. This is no longer a child in the womb that we're arguing about. This is a child who's been delivered. We think that's basic humanity. At times there's an argument about is a child if it's in the womb, but there's never been a debate if a child is a child outside the womb. This tries to be able to correct that issue. It's rare, but it does occasionally happen, and we believe that is an area that we in just basic humanity should be able to address. Again, this is not trying to be divisive. This is trying to say these are common sense issues that the rest of the world has already settled that we need to be able to resolve in our law as well. And I look forward to this not just passing the House, but passing the Senate, and for us to be able to catch up with the rest of the world and to be able to speak to our children about the days past when we used to have children at 6-7 months of viability that were killed in the womb. That this actually protects those life in the days ahead. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this conversation. This is a fight that is worthy of having, and it is a debate that we should have as a nation, and I think where most Americans already are.
And America is catching up to the idea we put on the table. Over 60% of Americans, when asked about this, say, no, I think we should get out of the club of 7 and we should go where the rest of the world's going. But the groups behind me have made this possible. You've been the voice of the unborn in so many occasions. And as with partial birth abortion, we took a while, but we got there. We will get there here because just common sense, logic, and humanity is on our side. Let's start with Carol Tobias for the National Right to Life.
Good morning. I am Carol Tobias, President of National Right to Life, the National Federation of State Right to Life organizations. I am proud to stand here today with Senator Graham to offer our support for the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. It is common to read in articles about this legislation that unborn children do not have the capacity to experience pain at 20 weeks fetal age. Those kinds of claims ignore facts. There is a large body of evidence that includes testimony from such experts on fetal pain as Professors Kanwaljit, Sunny Anand, and Colleen Malloy. In a 10-page report submitted to a federal court and accepted as expert testimony, Professor Anand wrote, "It is my opinion that the human fetus possesses the ability to experience pain from 20 weeks of gestation, if not earlier, and the pain perceived by a fetus is possibly more intense than that perceived by term newborns or older children." Dr. Anand does not wish to be drawn into the abortion debate, but his testimony stands. Dr. Malloy of Northwestern University, Feinberg School of Medicine, has testified before committees in both the House and the Senate. She stated, quote, "There is ample biologic, physiologic, hormonal, and behavioral evidence for fetal and neonatal pain. Many authors have substantiated that pain receptors are present and linked by no later than 20 weeks post-fertilization," end quote. Advocates of abortion try to deny that unborn children killed in late abortions feel pain, but they are the ones dabbling in junk science. Now is the time to end cruel abortions on late abortions for babies who can feel pain.
Mr. Tony Perkins, Family Research Council.
Thank you, Senator Graham. I want to first thank you for your consistent leadership on this, on all the issues of life, and we appreciate your leadership in the Senate. Senator Langford, thank you. I want to thank Senator Ernst as well for adding her voice to this issue and the life issue in general. Look, as has been pointed out, this is not rocket science. A baby at 5 months in utero feels pain. As been pointed out, if the child was undergoing a corrective medical procedure either outside the womb or inside the womb, they would be given anesthesia. What is happening here in America is inhumane. It's been mentioned that our country is in a scandalous league of nations when it comes to the treatment of unborn children. If America wants to draw distinctions between itself and rogue nations like North Korea, I would suggest this is a good place to start. And the Senate should take up and pass without delay the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. And I look forward to seeing the President, who is committed to this, signing it into law.
And President Trump is fully behind this idea. Ms. Quigley, Susan B. Anthony List.
Thank you, Senator Graham. I'm the Communications Director for Susan B. Anthony List. My name is Mallory Quigley. We're so grateful to Senator Graham for his continued leadership on this. Our message is simple. Our country is so much better than allowing barbaric late-term abortions after 20 weeks. That's why 20 states have already taken their own initiative and enacted their own version of the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act, which some are calling Micah's Law, after that little boy that Senator Ernst mentioned. He was here in 2015 with Senator Graham the last time that this bill was introduced. He's a 5-year-old boy. I just saw him last week. He's just started kindergarten. A majority of Americans, including women, young people, Hispanics, even a third of all Democrats, support this legislation and want to protect babies like Micah. The Susan B. Anthony List made public today polling that we commissioned just after the election, and it shows that a majority of voters in 2018 battleground states also support this bill and are significantly less likely to vote for a senator who votes in favor of keep allowing late-term abortions on demand in this country. It's time for the pro-life majority in the Senate to bring up this bill for a vote. Democratic senators, especially those who are up for re-election in 2018, have a real opportunity here. They can either stand with their pro-life constituents, among whom this legislation is incredibly popular, or they can stand with Planned Parenthood and the abortion lobby and continue to allow the barbarism of late-term abortion on demand. Either way, Susan B. Anthony List will make sure that their constituents know how they voted. Congress has a clear mandate on this legislation. It's time to protect babies at this point in pregnancy. Micah's Law is very much overdue.
Ms. Adderholt from Concerned Women for America.
Thank you, Senator Graham. Good morning. My name is Caroline Adderholt, and I'm honored to be here on behalf of Concerned Women for America. Today, in hospitals across America, if a doctor performs an in utero surgery on a 20-week-old unborn child, the standard protocol, as mentioned, for a child is to be treated as a patient, not just a blob of tissue. That child would be given an injection of pain medication before the surgery, and this is above and beyond the anesthesia given to the mother before the surgery. These babies have demonstrated to medical experts that they respond to painful stimuli because they flinch and they recoil from sharp objects. Modern technology and medical protocol demands that we offer and pass this legislation to protect the most vulnerable among us. It's time for the United States to leave the company of North Korea and China and join the other 198 countries that have ended the archaic procedure of late-term abortions across the world. We look forward to working with the co-sponsors of this bill to make it the law in the land. Thank you for being here today.
Finally, Ms. Foster from Americans United for Life.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Glenn Foster. I am President and CEO of Americans United for Life. AUL was very encouraged by the House of Representatives' passage of the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act on Tuesday, and we are delighted that Senator Graham and his colleagues have introduced the act today here in the Senate. Not only does this legislation provide legal protections for the unborn child who can feel pain, but it also protects mothers from the increased risks associated with late-term abortions. Research shows that a woman seeking an abortion at 20 weeks or 5 months is 35 times more likely to die from an abortion than if she had sought that abortion in the first trimester. This risk continues to increase exponentially as the pregnancy progresses, due both to the development and growth of the unborn child and the changes that take place in the woman's body in preparation for delivery. This is a common sense humanitarian law. one that 8 in 10 Americans agree with, as studies have shown that 8 in 10 Americans believe that there should be significant restrictions on abortion after the first trimester. We at Americans United for Life applaud Senator Graham, Majority Leader McConnell, and Senate leaders like Senator Langford and Senator Ernst for passing or for introducing this very important legislation that will protect both mothers and their unborn children, thousands of them, every year. Thank you.
Any questions?
Senator Graham, are you in favor of ending the legislative filibuster? And if not, then how do you expect
Right.
the bill to pass?
Well, I expect the bill to pass with 60 votes over the arc of time as we persuade more and more Americans we're in the wrong club. To the pro-life community and any other community out there on the conservative side, Democrats have been more in charge of this place than we have by a factor of about 3. Senator Blumenthal has legislation that would undo everything we've accomplished at the state level in terms of waiting periods, counseling, notifications. So my view is that the best way to protect the pro-life issue and to pass this bill is to build consensus and get 60 votes, not turn the Senate into the House, because anything we can do, they can do. And I can tell you, during the Obama years, there's a pretty radical pro-abortion agenda that was stopped time and time again because of the 60-vote requirement.
Senator Graham, what about in instances where complications to pregnancy are not discovered until after the point of 20 weeks?
Well, there are exceptions in the bill for pregnancies as a result of rape and incest and medical necessity to save the life of the mother. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is stop the practice of abortion on demand at 20 weeks. And believe it or not, it is a problem. Believe it or not, there are thousands of these cases every year. There's a reason 198 countries have gone a different way. The question that I think Jim brought up is, who are we as Americans? We can have debates about the right to an abortion and the first trimester. That debate will continue. But here's the one thing I hope we can agree upon. There comes a point to where you're not advancing any worthy cause. And what is the worthy cause? If you take off the table the choice between the baby and the mother's life, which is a difficult choice, you exclude rape and incest pregnancies, which are rare but do occur, then what worthy cause is being advanced to have abortions on demand in the 5th month when medical science tells us that a baby feels pain to the extent that you can't operate on the baby without anesthesia? Why would a doctor provide anesthesia to the baby, not just the mother? Because most doctors don't want to hurt the child. And that's where science has taken us. The law and science are not connected here. And I would say our values as a nation are out of sort with who we really are as a people. Anything, Jim?
That's great.
All right, one more.
Going off that question, that was a big argument in the House debates.
Uh-huh.
Do you anticipate that being very
Well, we'll consider anything that's practical. Now, if this is an effort to basically do away with the bill by scenarios that are not realistic, then we're not going to go down that road. I don't really know the details of the debate you're talking about. I know we had a good vote in the House, but our goal is fairly simple, is to inform the American people where we stand vis-a-vis the world, where we stand in terms of medical science, and challenge the American people through the political process to get involved and speak up. And I'll make a prediction. It took us about 15 years to deal with the partial birth abortion issue, where 20 states have already passed a pain-capable bill at the state level. And I'm very excited about the legal debate to come. Because what's so important about this bill, not only does it get us right with the world and right with just human decency, I think it expands the law in a very necessary way. Under Roe v. Wade, there is only one area that the governmental entities have in protecting the unborn child, and that's the point of medical viability. Now, I would argue that medical viability in 1973 and 2017 are totally different. So there's a Savannah Duke is watching at home, a 17-year-old high school student from Spartanburg, who was discovered missing a leg and having some problems at the 20-week period. And Savannah has one leg and a big heart and doing good in school. So all I would say about medical science, it is advancing, and the law needs to advance also. So one last. Okay, we got to vote. We got 3 votes from our Democratic friends last time. The more you educate, the more you vote, the larger the number gets. We're marching towards 60 because the reasoning against this doesn't withstand common sense scrutiny. It's out of sync with the science. Science is on our side. I think basic human decency is on our side. And as to the Republican leadership, I am 100% confident that this issue will come to the floor of the Senate because Mitch McConnell and the leaders all are behind this bill. They sponsor the bill. And to the American people, this is a debate worthy of a great nation. To my Democratic friends, you have every right to oppose this bill, but we have every right to bring it to the floor. And I look forward to a debate that will make us a better people, that will result over time in protecting a child in the 5th month. If you're asking parents from a medical point of view to sing to that child, because at that stage in development, they begin to recognize who you are, what good comes from abortion on demand? How far out of sync is the law with science? If doctors are encouraging parents to talk to the baby, the law should be encouraging the birth of the baby. Thank you.